Isn't it funny how the same family that made you feel like you were never enough, always comparing you to someone else, now can't stop bragging about you? Yeah, they doubted you. But look who's the golden child now. Think about those moments. The backhanded compliments, the constant side-by-side with others who seemed to have it all figured out. It stung, didn't it? But now those same voices are shouting your name like you're the family's biggest flex. This isn't just your story. It's a triumph for anyone who's ever been underestimated by the people who should have lifted them up. Families often see comparisons as harmless observations, but to the person on the receiving end, it's anything but. From a young age, you were probably measured against someone else, someone who seemed to have it all. Maybe it was a sibling with better grades or a cousin whose career path seemed more polished. Each comment might have sounded innocent, but together they painted a picture that you were somehow less than. The worst part about these comparisons is how they seep into your self-worth. Over time, it's no longer just them seeing you as second best. You begin to question yourself. Why am I not enough? Becomes a quiet refrain in your mind. It's like living with a mirror that only reflects flaws, magnifying every imperfection until you can't see anything else. And let's talk about expectations. Unrealistic, crushing expectations. Families love to use someone else's accomplishments as a yardstick for your success. Did they land a prestigious job? Well, why haven't you? Did they buy a house or marry early? What's taking you so long? It doesn't matter if your journey looks different or if your dreams are unique. To them, you're only as valuable as your proximity to this impossible standard. Favoritism makes the wound even deeper. The golden child doesn't just get the praise. They get the love, the attention, the pride that should have been spread evenly. It's as though the family spotlight has a narrow beam and you're left standing in the shadows. Even when you tried to step into the light, it was never quite enough to be noticed. But there's another layer to this, the quiet neglect. Sometimes it wasn't about what they said, but what they didn't. The lack of acknowledgement when you achieved something. The silence when you worked hard. It's not always the harsh words that hurt the most. It's the moments when you were invisible, your efforts unseen, your voice unheard. Yet somewhere in that silence, something began to shift. Maybe it wasn't dramatic at first, but deep inside, a voice started to speak. It said, "You deserve more." Those comparisons, those dismissals, they didn't break you. They became the soil where resilience took root. That pain you carried, that invisible weight of their words, wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of something far greater, because even when they didn't see your worth, you were slowly building a foundation they couldn't ignore. The comparisons were exhausting, yes, but they also set the stage for your rise. The decision to redefine success for yourself wasn't easy. Walking away from their measuring stick meant letting go of years of conditioning. But deep down, you understood that their version of success didn't align with your truth. You began to see that you didn't need to follow a pre-drawn map when you were capable of forging your own path. Drop a comment below saying, "I'm done chasing, I'm ready to rise," if you know this is your turning point. At first, your progress was quiet. You didn't broadcast your plans or seek their validation for your choices. You simply put your head down and worked. It was a season of solitude, filled with long nights, small wins, and battles no one else saw. It wasn't glamorous, but it was yours. And slowly you began to notice something. You didn't need their applause. The fulfillment came from within. Then the milestones started to appear. Maybe it was a promotion, a creative breakthrough, or the moment you finally felt at home in your own skin. These weren't just achievements. They were symbols of the person you were becoming. Each one whispered a quiet truth. You were always enough. Ironically, the very standards they had used to compare you to others became the ones you surpassed. They had set the bar high, but you rose above it, not for them, but for yourself. What they didn't realize was that their pressure had forged someone who could not only meet their expectations, but exceed them in ways they never imagined. In reclaiming your path, you also reclaimed your power. You began to own your story, flaws, struggles, triumphs, and all. Every setback became a lesson, every victory a testament to your resilience. The chains of their approval no longer bound you, because you finally understood your worth was never tied to their opinions. As your glow-up began to take shape, the family dynamics started to shift. The same voices that once doubted you grew quieter, replaced by murmurs of admiration. It wasn't just your accomplishments they noticed, it was the confidence and independence you carried. You had stepped into your own light, and they couldn't ignore it. The irony wasn't lost on you. The same people who had boxed you in with their comparisons now struggled to keep up with the person you'd become. Their doubts had once weighed you down, but now their opinions felt light, like shadows fading in the glow of your success. And yet, through it all, your journey wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that you were capable, deserving, and limitless. Breaking free wasn't just a moment, it was the turning point that changed everything. It was the day you stopped chasing their approval and started living for yourself. The obsidian inner order is where the truly chosen gather to break chains, dismantle illusions, and walk a path most people are too scared to even look at. Think of it as the front lines for warriors who don't need permission to rise. We've got weekly group calls where chosen ones dissect the matrix like seasoned strategists, peeling back every lie designed to keep you stuck. A Star Chamber Discord filled with unshakable souls who've turned their setbacks into power moves. And our content. It's so raw and unapologetic that YouTube wouldn't even survive it. But let's get one thing straight. This isn't for everyone. If you're still chasing validation or looking for someone to hand you easy answers, don't bother. This space is for the bold, the unrelenting, the ones who don't just survive betrayal. They build empires on top of it. Hit the link in the description to join the Obsidian Inner Order. At first, the shift was subtle. A compliment slipped into a conversation where there had only been criticism before. A family member who never seemed to notice your efforts suddenly paid attention. It wasn't loud or obvious, but you could feel the tides beginning to turn. They saw you differently now, not as the one who couldn't measure up, but as someone who had exceeded every expectation. Suddenly, there was respect where there had once been doubt. Family members who once underestimated you began to see your value. They started asking for your advice, sharing your accomplishments with others, and including you in conversations they used to leave you out of. It felt strange at first, like stepping into a role that had always been meant for someone else. It wasn't just respect. They began to rewrite the past. Selective amnesia set in as they conveniently forgot the times they doubted you. The harsh words, the comparisons, the dismissal of your efforts. It was as if none of it had ever happened. They acted as though they had supported you all along, as if your success validated their pride in being right about you. Then came the bragging. Your name became their favorite conversation starter. "Did you hear what they accomplished?" they'd say, as if your glow-up had always been a shared family victory. The same people who once made you feel small now couldn't stop talking about you. It was ironic. Your success had turned you into the family's ultimate flex, but their pride carried an unspoken apology. They might not have said the words aloud, but their actions said it all. The newfound admiration, the sudden respect, the way they championed you to others. It was their way of saying, "We were wrong." And while the apology was silent, it was still something to be felt, acknowledged and understood. The irony of their shift wasn't lost on you. There was something almost poetic about watching them sing your praises when, not so long ago, they had been your harshest critics. It wasn't bitterness that filled you, it was a sense of quiet satisfaction. You'd grown beyond needing their approval, but seeing their change reminded you of how far you'd come. Standing in your power meant more than just accepting their respect. It meant staying true to yourself despite it. You no longer needed their validation to feel whole. Their recognition, while sweet, was only the cherry on top of a foundation built from your own determination and self-belief. Still, the sweetness of success came with a tinge of bitterness. While proving them wrong felt satisfying, it also reminded you of the pain that got you there. It wasn't their approval that brought you joy. It was the realization that you'd become everything they thought you couldn't. This moment wasn't about revenge or even redemption. It was about stepping fully into your power, owning your story, and finding peace with the past. Drop a comment below saying, "I own my story and my power," if you've risen above and turned doubt into triumph. The comparisons that once haunted you have come full circle, but this time they're not directed at you. Now you're the one they hold up as the shining example. "Why can't you be more like them?" they ask others in the family. using your success as the new benchmark. It's surreal, isn't it? To go from being overlooked to being the standard everyone else is measured against. With this role, reversal comes a strange kind of power, but also a new pressure. You've worked hard to climb to this place, but now, the spotlight feels heavier. You're not just a person to them anymore, you're a symbol of what's possible. Their expectations, once imposed on you through others, now rest squarely on your shoulders. It's easy to feel the weight of being the family's gold standard. There's an unspoken pressure to keep achieving, to stay at the top, to always have something impressive to show. The very thing that once drove you to break free, the constant comparisons, now threatens to tether you again, but in a different way. The key, you realize, is balance. While their admiration feels validating, it can't define your next steps. Staying grounded means remembering why you started this journey in the first place, not to meet anyone else's standards, but to live authentically, on your terms. It's about honoring your growth without being consumed by their newfound expectations. What's even more fascinating is how your journey has reshaped the family's narrative. Where once there was doubt, there is now belief. You've proven that the underdog can rise, that someone who was overlooked can become the very example of success. And in doing so, you've changed the way they see not just you, but themselves, and what's possible for the family as a whole. Now, younger members of the family look to you with wide eyes, hoping to follow your path. They see your success as proof that they too can overcome their struggles. Your story has become a light for them, guiding their steps as they try to find their own way. It's a powerful responsibility, one that humbles you even as it inspires you. But with this new dynamic, you face another challenge: navigating the shifting roles within the family. Those who once underestimated you may now seek your approval, while others may struggle with their own insecurities in your shadow. It's a delicate balance, learning to encourage without allowing their struggles to diminish your light. This moment is an opportunity to redefine the family dynamic entirely. Instead of perpetuating the cycle of comparisons, you can lead by example. Show them that success isn't about competition, but about finding fulfillment in one's own unique journey. Your rise doesn't have to make others feel small, it can inspire them to rise too. Ultimately, your transformation has made you more than just the family's golden child. You've become a symbol of resilience and possibility. Your story is living proof that the underdog can overcome, that perseverance pays off, and that even in the face of doubt, greatness is possible. And that, chosen one, is a legacy no one can take away from you. When your family brags about you now, it's easy to hear it as pride, but there's something deeper behind their words. Each compliment, each story they tell about your success, is an unspoken acknowledgement of how far you've come. It's their way of saying, "We see you," even if they don't fully admit how they once doubted you. This newfound admiration reveals something else. They've started to recognize your growth in ways they never expected. Whether they say it or not, your achievements force them to confront their past judgments. That pride they now carry. It's rooted in the undeniable fact that you proved them wrong. Somewhere beneath the surface of their praise, there might also be regret. Regret for the times they didn't support you, for the words they can't take back, for the years they didn't believe in you. They may never say it out loud, but you can sense it in the way their tone softens when they talk about you now. And it's not just about you, it's about them too. Your success has become a reflection of their family, their values and their legacy. In their eyes, you've become the shining example of what they hoped someone in the family would achieve. You've given them a reason to hold their heads higher, even if they once made you feel small. But here's the beauty in it. Your results speak louder than any words they could offer. Your achievements rewrite the narrative in ways their doubts never could. The story they used to tell about you, the one filled with comparisons and criticism, has been replaced by a new one, built entirely on the truth of your success. This shift creates ripples, affecting even those who doubted you the most. Your story doesn't just inspire them, it challenges them to see their own potential. They may not say it, but watching you rise forces them to question the limits they once placed on themselves. Even as they sing your praises, you've learned to handle their compliments with grace. You accept their words without letting them define your worth. Their pride is theirs to hold, but your success is yours alone. You don't need their applause to know your value. It's a quiet, steady truth that no one can take away. In many ways, their bragging isn't about you at all. It's about their own redemption, their own way of making peace with how they once treated you. It's not just your transformation that's happened here, it's theirs too. And perhaps that's the ultimate redemption. By becoming the person they never thought you could be, you've shifted the entire family's energy toward positivity and hope. You've turned doubt into admiration, criticism into pride, and silence into praise. That, chosen one, is the power of undeniable results. The first lesson in your journey is this: you thrived because you stopped comparing yourself to others. The moment you let go of their expectations, you gave yourself permission to pursue what truly mattered to you. That freedom was the foundation of your success, and it's a reminder that your unique path is where your greatest strength lies. Your glow-up didn't happen because you sought validation from your family. It happened because you stopped needing it. You found self-worth not in their approval, but in your own belief that you were enough. That belief was the key to unlocking your potential and stepping into the life you always deserved. But here's the thing about forgiveness: it doesn't mean forgetting. Part of your journey was learning to forgive the people who doubted you, not for their sake, but for your own peace. At the same time, you set boundaries to protect yourself from falling into the same cycles of comparison and criticism. Forgiveness healed the wound, but boundaries ensured it wouldn't reopen. Your story is more than just your own. It's a beacon for others who are walking a similar path. By rising above the doubts and negativity, you've shown that it's possible to overcome even the toughest challenges. You've become living proof that the underdog can win, and that's a message the world needs to hear. Every struggle you faced, every setback you overcame, is part of your story. Owning that story means embracing the hard parts as much as the triumphs. They shaped you, taught you, and gave you the strength to become who you are today. You wouldn't be here without them, and that's something to be proud of. Your transformation is more than just personal. It's a ripple effect. It inspires others to believe in themselves, to pursue their dreams, and to rise above the limitations others place on them. Your journey is a reminder that one person's success can light the way for many. You've become a beacon, a symbol of perseverance and possibility. Your story tells others, if I can rise above, so can you. It's a powerful message, one that gives hope to those who feel overlooked, underestimated, or forgotten. The power of transformation lies in its ability to inspire change, not just in yourself, but in those around you. Your rise isn't just about proving others wrong, it's about showing the world what's possible when you refuse to give up. And now, looking back on everything you've achieved, you realize that the greatest lesson of all is this: you are the author of your story. Not them, not their doubts, not their comparisons, you. And because of that, you've created a legacy of resilience, strength, and unstoppable growth. Your family compared you to others, but now you're the one they can't stop talking about. That's the power of staying true to your path. The journey wasn't easy, but every setback, every doubt, and every struggle led you here. It's a testament to the strength that comes from within, the strength that carried you when no one believed in you. Now, you stand tall, not just as someone who proved them wrong, but as someone who proved yourself right. Chosen ones, remember this: your success doesn't erase the pain of being underestimated, but it transforms it. What once felt like rejection is now the fire that fueled your rise. And every time they speak your name with pride, it's a reminder of how far you've come. So, take this moment to own your story. Every chapter, every twist, and every triumph belongs to you. Let your journey inspire others to embrace their path, to overcome their doubts, and to find their light. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to share your glow-up story in the comments. Let's celebrate your victories and the power of transformation together. Don't forget to share this with someone who needs a reminder that their story isn't over yet. Your glow is undeniable, your rise unstoppable, and your future limitless. Stay strong, chosen ones, and keep shining.